What's poppin'? Give everybody a minute to tune in for a couple minutes. Told y'all we're gonna do this a couple times a week. Did this like a week ago, so want everybody to tune in. What's going on? What's going on? What's good? What's good? What's poppin'? I got Instagram over here. I got Facebook over here. Yeah, it's a new year. I'm back active. My daughter's with me this week. So FYI, today's been kind of a wild day. So I, tried to get her to go upstairs and kind of be a little peaceful for the time I'm here for the next couple minutes while I'm here. But just in case you hear, some running around, some screaming, maybe the dog barking, I did my best. So, it is what it is. And we're going to still tune in to give some game tonight. Appreciate y'all popping on. Let me know where you're tuning in from. That would be amazing. And then I'm going to drop a little bit of free game. I'm going to drop some free game, of course, as always. And then I want to be able to answer any questions. This is more business related. I know some of you support me for music. Some people know me for business. This one is more business related. There are some music announcements. While we're here, music. We got a new track. Me, Big Steel, and Andy B. Mackin have a song dropping next week. Ooh, this would be a great topic actually for next week. That's awesome. Called Hate. On the 23rd of next week, January 23rd, 2024. It is the first track of 2024 getting dropped, so it's about to be amazing. So we're gonna drop that next week. But that's really kind of the only music announcements that I have right now. Like I said, I want to be able to give some free game. I want to be able to give back and help everybody, financially, mentally, whatever I can. But like I said, this is more financial based, these questions. But we're gonna do some goal setting stuff as well too. So anyways, we're gonna give it like 2 more minutes, everybody to tune in, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started because it's a new year. And in order to become a new you got to get some new habits so that we can get some new outcomes. We can go to new heights, right? So give everybody like 30 more seconds, another 30 seconds to hop in. I got Instagram over here. I got Facebook over here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. As always, like I said, I want to be able to give back this year, really be able to give a lot of game. So I do want to be able to answer any questions that you guys have, but it's a new year. There is no BS whenever you come to me, right? I want to be able to always be real. I want to always be able to be transparent. I want to always be able to give game. And so because it's a new year, I want you guys to understand everybody January 1st, every year, whatever. Everybody's always talking about new year, new me, right? And then, they're kind of hyped on that for a couple days and then it kind of fizzles out. And the reason I want to touch on this is because in order to create a new you, it's not a one-day automatic transformation, right? It's going to be a process. But in order to become a new you, you have to create new habits, right? And so becoming a new you and becoming a better version of you, and you want to become the highest version of you so that you can give your highest level of contribution back to the world. You want to be able to learn and use what you learn in order to give back to the world, right? So the reason that your habits have to be changed is because we have to realize that who we are today is a sum of all the decisions that we've made in our past, right? And it wasn't just a one-day thing that happened for how we got in the situation that we're in now. It's just these small little daily actions over time, right? So what happens is in order to become a new you need to create some new habits. And the way that you create new habits is the way that I like to do things is I like to reverse engineer. So a lot of people, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to be able to know how to get there, right? And so the reason how most people, so let me put this into perspective. So this is a business call. So we're going to put this in the perspective of a business. So most people if they've never started a business before, they start here, right? So this circle is a business. So we're going to write biz, right? And they just started this. Now, most people, they want to start from here, and then they want to go step 2, step 3, so on and so forth. But the problem is, especially for people who have just started, is you don't really know what this roadmap looks like, what that process looks like, which is, by the way, you never really want to start from zero. You always want to get a mentor. And a mentor can help you because they've already been where you want to go, right? So the hack to this, by the way, the hack to this is find someone who's doing what you want to do at a high level and do whatever it takes to get access to them, and then have them teach you what they did to become successful, right? But the whole point of me saying that is, if you are starting, the idea of reverse engineering can help you out the most. Because instead of you starting from here and kind of trying to take step and then just kind of figuring it out in the dark, what you can do is you start in the end. Can you see this circle? I don't know if you can see that. You can't really see that circle. Hold on. Let me just do this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on. So, let me just wipe this away real quick. All right, let's get it. So, instead of starting from here, like I just showed and going that way, you want to reverse engineer it. So you want to start this way and go back this way. Because what you'll do is eventually you'll find the steps, reverse engineering from this way, you'll get a better outline of a plan of what you need to do, of a better process. And then once you're able to follow that process, now you're able to break down this massive goal or this massive process into actionable steps, which most people, in order to get started on something, a lot of people have this big goal, but a lot of people have what are called goals, but ultimately in the reality, they just have hopes. Because if you don't have a plan in order to achieve that goal or that hope, then you're really just kind of shooting in the dark and you're just hoping on luck. And luck is possible. I'm not going to say that people don't get lucky, but the people who get lucky are the people who put in the most work consistently, so that when those opportunities arise, they've already had those experiences. They've already had that preparation in order, and that became present and applicable and very useful at the time that opportunity came, right? But it's a process of taking action and being consistent on that every single day. So it's not you don't want a New Year's resolution, right? We want to always become the best version of ourselves possible. But a New Year's resolution it's okay to set New Year's goals if you have an actual plan and an actual outline that you can put in work to achieve that goal, right? But ultimately, the way that you create a new version of you is to have everyday goals. Everyday goals. So new day resolutions instead of New Year resolutions. That's how I personally have lived my life, and that's what I've found for myself to be the most valuable in figuring out what I do. And instead of looking at, and the reason you want to plan, and the reason you want to plan, and the reason you want to set values, and the reason you want to set guidelines is because when you understand your plan, it becomes less easy. There's always challenges and there's always distractions out here in the world. But when you have a plan and you're following that plan, it's always easier to measure where you're at. And it's always easy to say this, if it aligns with your goals, or if it aligns with what you're trying to do, perfect. But if it doesn't, you're able to recognize that and you're able to say, look, I need to put more action into what I'm working on this, because this plan is going to take me where I'm going to go. Now, in this instance, it's starting a business or growing a business or scaling a business. But like I said, this can be applied to anything in life, right? So once you have your goals and once you have your action steps, then ultimately it's about consistency. But the consistency teaches you on the consistency and on the process. This is important. This is important as well too. This is going to change a lot of people's life when it comes to mindset, when it comes to business, a lot of things. It's a cheat code. It's a cheat code. Give me 1 second. I'll teach you guys about success, give you an outline for success and how this is applicable, right? So, a lot of people, and this is what I thought in the beginning as well too. So right here, if we have a chart, let me just draw a big line. And hopefully you guys can see this, right? Yes, you can. Right, perfect. So a lot of people believe that success happens something like that, right? And let's say that this is the amount of work they put in. Well, let's say that this is time, right? Let's say that this is time, right? And this is levels of success. So this is levels. This is, my writing doesn't always look the greatest, but this is supposed to be levels, right? And then this down here is time. Now, a lot of people believe that success is like this, that just naturally over time, it's just more linear like that. In reality, success is more like this. And I hope you guys can see this as I draw this. Now, I'm going to do my best to point this out, and I hope I made this clear. So instead of linear success happening like this, how most people believe, success happens a lot like this. It goes over a period of time, and over these period of times, this is a much longer period of time, you're putting in a whole lot of work. You're putting in a whole lot of effort until eventually, and you really don't notice how impactful the work that you're putting in is until you get all the way over here. But if you notice, now look at this, 80, and don't give me these exact numbers, but let's say this is at the 80 percentile, because a lot of life, you'll learn, works on the 80-20 rule, which I'll talk about a lot later. But if this is 80% of your time right here, right? If this is 80% of the time, this amount of work that you're putting in all the way to 80%, you really don't know too much of a difference. But once that 80% is, then all of a sudden you skyrocket. And between the 80th percentile and the 100th percentile, you have the majority of your growth. So let's say 90% of your growth. And like I said, my handwriting isn't the greatest, but you'll get it. So 90% of your growth happens between the 80th, and 100% of the time because it's compound. Compound is the 8th wonder of the world, right? The compound interest, compounding time, everything is compounding at all periods of life. And that's the whole thing that you have to understand, because although most people, like I said, believe success is linear like this, it's not. It's compounded where you put a whole lot of time for a whole lot of years and all of a sudden it just skyrockets. Now, this is important because during this time is where you're putting in most of the grunt work, right? You're putting in all of the connections. You're putting in all of the time to learn something. You're making all of the mistakes. But the mistake is the key point, because the reason this is compounded, and I'm going to go through this in just a second. The reason this is compounded, because over time here, as you're going through this process, as you're learning, as you're going through these mistakes, you're learning lessons and you're gaining experience. The two biggest processes, the two biggest assets or most valuable things that you can find are information and resources, right? And people, connections, networking. People are your blessings, right? But during through all this time, the reason I'm saying that is because you're learning, you're making, you're taking action, You're taking action consistently. You're making mistakes. You're learning from those mistakes. And most importantly, you're gaining experience. Now, this is important as well, too. It's a mistake if you recognize the mistake and you correct that mistake and you don't make that mistake again. I'm not saying you won't make other mistakes, but you won't make that particular mistake again. If you keep making the same mistake over and over again, it's a problem. If you make a mistake and you correct it to not make that mistake again, then you have found a solution, right? Now, this is important because every time you make a mistake, the reason this is compounding, every time you make a mistake, you're getting better. You learn from this. So now, when you do something again, there's two things that happen. You know the steps that you have to take, and now you're valuable to others because you already made the mistakes. So now you're able to show somebody else how to avoid those same mistakes, right? Extremely powerful. Now, let me see how I want to break this down. I want to make this as simple as possible, you guys. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Let me get some water. Now, the reason it's important to understand compound interest, because of, I wish I had more board space. Let me see. I wish I had more board space, but I'll bring this home in a second after I erase this in a second. Now, and it's because I want to give you the first visual and then I want to give you an alternative visual, right? The reason it's important to understand compound interest in whatever you're pursuing, and this is whatever goal you're pursuing. This is, like I said, this particular training is business. It could be, music. It could be your passion. It could be cooking. It could be literally building a home. It could be whatever you're trying to learn, whatever you're trying to pursue at all. All of this is applicable to that. Now, because most people, this is the hardest part right here, mainly because of mentality. Most people lose track of the mentality and the energy, and the focus and the inspiration that it takes to make it through this mucky, because this part is trash. This is not the fun part, but it's the valuable part because it's how you learn how to scale out of there. Now, the reason I say this is because, as I said, most people will get about here. And let's just make a rough estimate. Like I said, don't hold me to numbers. But let's say right here in this section is 60%, right? So I told you that most of your time is meant for growing and learning, and you don't really see a whole lot of growth until you get to this 80 percentile, and then all of a sudden the 80 percentile, it just skyrockets. If you missed that, please go back and watch this because it's extremely valuable. Now, the reason I say that is because most people get right here to this 60% section, and once they get to the 60% section, I call this shiny object syndrome, right? Or they start looking at the grass is greener on the other side, or however you want to relate to it. Then they think that some other opportunity or some other goal is not worth or is better than what they were pursuing, right? And because it looks easier, they bounce out. Now, if you bounce out right here, if you leave this right here to go pursue something else, now you have to do this same chart all over again, and you can't see that. Hang on 1 second. Now, let me draw this out. Now, actually, I'm going to do a mini version right above it. So this is my mini version. Right? You can see that. Now, this is going to be right up here. So this is the 60 percentile. This is where most people leave or give up on whatever they're pursuing, right? After they leave that 60%, they go and pursue something else. So now when they go and pursue something else, they want to learn some other skill set. They want to do whatever the case may be. They have to start all the way over here again because the timetable starts over for that particular task. And then again, this is levels of success. So the true thing is now they have to start all the way over here again. And they need to go through this process in order to find the compounding. But then again, what happens is most people get to this 60% and say, oh, this doesn't work, or this wasn't as great as I thought it was, so now I'm going to do something else, and now they go back all the way over here. Now, this is important because now I'm going to make this make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to bring this all the way home. So give me 1 second to clean all this up. Brianna, what's going on? What's popping? I got Instagram over here on this phone. I got Facebook over here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'll clean this up for y'all. Now, we're going to win this year. But in order to win, you have to believe it's possible. And in order to believe it's possible, you got to see a visual of it. So that's what the whole purpose of this is I'm going to try to bring this home. Because I talked about this a little last time. There was a time period in my life that brought me to the experience and the level, and I'm thankful for the blessings and the experiences that I receive now. But life was not always like this. And there were times that I was begging for this information or access. And so because of that, at the time and the situations that I was going through, I'm very spiritual. And at the time that I was going through what I was going through, I promised God that if I got through my situation, I would come back and teach people. And I would help as many people as possible to help them achieve and get closer to whatever they're trying to achieve. So, because of that, that's why I want to donate my time. That's why I donate my time. And whether I impact 1 million lives myself, or whether I impact somebody else's life who impacts 1 million lives, or whether I impact one person or 10 people and we all impact 1 million lives, whatever the case may be, that's what this is for, right? So, appreciate you, Brandon. All right, so let's get into it. Now, the reason I talked about the compound, and the reason I talked about understanding the compound is this, because this is ultimately how it really looks like. So when you start something, let me draw a start and let me make sure that you guys can read it. It says start. Okay, perfect. Again, my handwriting is not perfect, so I'm going to walk through this. I'm going to walk and talk through this. So when you start something emotionally and going through the process, I'm going to show you what going through the process looks like so you recognize it, so you don't have to keep restarting over and over again. So once you start something, you're really, really excited, right? Actually, let me actually write this down lower. Hold on. Before I do this one, let me write this down a little lower. Let me give myself a little bit more room. Let me see. How low can I take this? Somewhere around like in here. Y'all can see that? I could have taken a little lower, but it'd be all right, okay? So when you start something, you're excited, right? Now, this is the beginning and the start of something. So you have to understand that it's not going to be perfect when you start something. You have to be willing to go through the process, take the time, and make the mistakes, right? So when you start something, you're super excited. Now, when you first start to learn something, if you've never known something before, you've never been exposed to information before or certain information before, when you first learn something, you obviously feel excited because you're being opened up to a new world that you've never seen before. So when you start something, it's easier to gain perceived success because you don't really have anything to compare it to with what you're looking for. But because you're learning, right, it's giving you confidence and it's giving you inspiration. There's never, and I want to clear this up, there is no such thing as perfection. Practice does not make perfect. Practice creates confidence, and confidence gives you the confidence and the inspiration and the positivity to keep going and be able to learn through what you're going through and have the confidence that, again, the mistakes that you're making are just mistakes because you're going to solve them, and so it's no longer going to be a problem. I got a notification, so my bad. There is no such thing as perfection. There's only practice making confidence. Now, when you start something, because you don't really know much about when you start something, emotionally, you start going up here. Now, The beginning stages, everything works like in tiers, just like in school. You know, you might have kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, second grade. You know, everything has a tier. Everything has a lower tier. And as you gain new information or new exposure, you go up in tiers, right? So, but you always learn the easiest information first, and then it gets a little bit more difficult. So when you first start something, you get super excited because you're learning something. Now, eventually, it's not as easy. So, this is what I like to call these trumps. So this is where, let me see how I want to draw this. This is where you are excited, right? Excited, and then you start to be, start experiencing or difficulty, right? Experiencing difficulty. I could just put difficulty. It would have made it simple. Now, when you start experiencing difficulty, you start going down a little bit. You guys can still see this. Again, my drawings and my handwriting isn't perfect. The whole point of this is to give you a visual. Now, once you get down here, if you maintain long enough, you start to solve these issues. So again, as you start to solve those issues, you gain more confidence. So life is also like a trampoline. You guys have to picture this. So I'm going to really bring this home, but damn, I get so excited. So when you come down here and you start to solve these issues, if you deal with it long enough and you're able to go through and learn it long enough, you're going to eventually solve those problems. So now you get new confidence. So let's put new confidence. Now, can you guys see that? And be all right. Okay. It says new confidence. Now, as you build up new confidence, you're going to, life is like a trampoline. So now you're going to shoot past this bigger part. You're going to shoot past this bigger part. Again, because the mistakes that you've made before, you're able to learn from. So as you start to experience difficulty, you get new confidence, you're building momentum, and then you start going to new heights. And eventually, this cycle continues. So then you experience more difficulties. So there's difficulty. And you start to shoot down again, right? Now, can you see that? I should have probably gone. Okay, I'm gonna fix this over in just a second. So, eventually what happens is this whole trough happens over and over and over again. But, let me draw this easier, because I want to show you this. Yeah, I just didn't. I got this new board. Side note, I got this new board for this, but I'm still getting used to it. I'm still getting used to like my camera angles, and it's like it's a glass board. It's not just like a normal chalkboard or like a whatever. So I'm getting used to how to operate it. But once I figure this out, it's gonna be dope. Hold on, it's gonna be dope. Give me 1 second. All right, we're gonna make this a little easier. So, the highs and lows, right? So you have a start, you build confidence, you go up, you have a difficulty. You come back down. Now on the way back down, you're learning how to solve the issues, so you start to build confidence. Now, life is like a trampoline. The reason I say that is because there's no such thing as like up and then just down and then you're just down there. When you go up, when you bounce momentum, it's like a trampoline. You're first getting started, you bounce, you get a little bit of momentum. Perfect. Now, naturally, you're eventually going to lose some momentum. You're going to face some difficulties, so you're going to come back down. But when you come back down, you're learning from the mistakes that you're doing, so now you're gaining more momentum to shoot up to a higher level. And it goes just about like this. And each time, you create a new standard. So this time that you come down is not as low as last time because you have resources, people, and a platform at that level. Now, and you keep doing the same thing and you create new levels. Now, the reason I say that is because now that you see this, now I'm going to draw my chart that I did earlier. Now I'm going to draw my chart that I did earlier. Now I'm going to put a visual on this. You guys see that? Perfect. You can. Awesome. So, again, you create new standards and you go to new highs. Now, this happens over and over, right? You get new momentum and you go new highs. Now, the reason I say that is because at this 60% mark that I was talking about earlier, and I'm not going to go all the way back through it, but if you missed it, I'm going to leave this live up so that you can go back through it. After you go back to this new 60% mark, because what happens is people get tired of hitting lows. They go up, they feel super good. They're like, awesome, I see some wins. And then they're like, oh, it gets difficult. Now I'm struggling a little bit. And it is very emotionally challenging, which is why you need to understand the perspective. Most people, they've gone through a couple highs and lows of whatever they're working on. They get to this 60% mark and they say, oh, this is not as easy as I thought it was. Things aren't necessarily easy, but they can be simple. There's a difference. Now, most people get to this 60% mark and they're like, wow, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. Maybe I'm going to go work on something else, right? So, for example, you might be in business. I'm just throwing out examples. You might be a tax preparer. You might get exposed to the idea that, oh, I can be a tax preparer. I can work 3 or 4 months out of the year. You know, if I'm just working with W-2 and small business clients, I can work, just 3 or 4 months out of the year. I could make a full-time income or, possibly make a full-time income. Awesome. I'm going to do tax preparation. So then they do tax preparation and they're in that and they got all excited. But then all of a sudden they see that, oh, it's a little bit more difficult working with the clients and, learning all the paperwork and things like that. So then they're like, oh, I'm going through this for a year. It's not as easy as they thought it was. So then they get back onto something else. Or let's say year 2 comes around. So year 2, they're a little bit more confident. They're cool, but then they're like, oh, I'm still not making a full-time income in, what they thought they were going to do. Just giving you guys examples. So then let's say they're online or they're out for a while and now they find real estate. Now this is year 2. Now, once they go to real estate, because real estate was so much more flashy or whatever that in their perspective, now they leave tax preparation and they go back to here because that's what they thought would be a better option, right? Now, for them, the problem is that by the time they go back here, they have to learn a new skill set. They have to learn new information. In this scenario, real estate. So now the same process happens over and over again. And if you look back on this in your life, you'll start to realize this. At least I did for my life. So, but what happens is, and let's say they're 2 years into real estate, now they've learned and they're feeling a little bit more confident, but now they're going through the same process. They're going through the same struggles. As comparison, if they stuck the little bit more time to do the tax preparation, for example, they would have been year 4 as compared, as compared to year 2, which would have been the same situation. So it's really just understanding compound interest. It's really understanding the compound on time, the compound of consistency, and realizing this trough. You never go lower than where you start. So every time you learn and go through your process, you create a new standard, right? As you create a new standard over time, you're able to learn from those mistakes and eventually you're able to elevate yourself to where you need to go. But you have to understand the visual and the action behind it, because most people just say, oh, be consistent, keep going, never give up. But that's just words. You have to understand the visual and the way that everything compounds over time, right? So that's kind of what I was talking about tonight. And it's because new year, new me doesn't happen just on one day. And unfortunately, most of the people who believe that, most people have just given up on their new year, new goals right now. They don't even really talk about it. And I want us to be able to do something much different. You're not here to be average. I don't want you to be average. You deserve to be much more than average. And I want to be able to help you guys in any way that I can. Now, I do have a plan. This one was just a little bit choppy. Like I said, it's been kind of crazy. My daughter been kind of wild all day. I'm very surprised that she's been good this whole time, which is awesome. No screaming, the dog ain't going crazy. So we've been awesome there. But I did just kind of throw this together, but I did want to hop on tonight. I do want to, for the future, because I want to start doing these a couple times a week, I want to be able to give back. So I don't want to assume what you want to know. Let me see. I don't want to assume. Let me swipe over here. Got you. Perfect. I don't want to assume how I can help you or what you want to know. So if you guys DM me or like if you guys want to let me know or whatever the case may be, I would love to know what you guys want to hear from me, how I can help, whether music-wise, business-wise. I know a lot of people follow me and support me for different reasons. Some, two of the most common reasons, like I said, music or business. So if you guys want more music content or you guys want me to go live on music, showing you guys like behind the scenes what I'm working on, maybe some of the plans, things like that. I don't know. We can just do like a studio session or I don't know, just bump some Mr. Dorsey and I don't know, catch up and kick it. Or if you guys want to know more business information, I want to be able to give back and do whatever, like I said, whatever we can. So I got I do have some big things coming. I've got some awesome things coming as far as like products, services, access, and resources for business. So yeah. All right. So Brianna's over here. Like I said, I got Facebook over here and I got Instagram over here. Some behind the scenes studio session would be dope. Word. I'm definitely down to do that. I've been recording. Since we're going to talk about the music, man, I've been back in the studio recording just like whenever we first started this, which is amazing. And Brianna, I don't know if you were on here earlier, but me, Andy, and Big Steel are dropping a track next Tuesday, the 23rd, on all platforms. It's called Hate. Ooh, matter of fact, let's touch on this real quick. Appreciate you, Mary. I appreciate that. So let me touch on this really quick. This is awesome because it kind of combines the music, the song that's coming up, so you guys can get a little bit of background with it. And then also it's a mindset thing. So we have Hate dropping on next Tuesday at midnight Eastern, the 23rd, January 23rd, 2024. It's called Hate. Me, Andy B. Mackin, and Big Steel are dropping that. Now, the concept behind it, Brianna, I got you. Now, the concept behind it is most people, whenever they hear the word hate, they think of like a negative connotation. So they think of like a negative meaning like, oh, I hate you, da-da-da-da-da, I don't want to talk to you, or da-da-da, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But the way that we did it is that we took a negative idea. So hate, we took like something like I said, most people have a negative belief when it comes to hate. So we took a negative belief on hate something for bad, and instead of using it as something that you hate as an excuse, it's now using the things that you hate instead of an excuse and kind of holding you down and bringing you negative energy. It's rebuilding that or rechanging that or retargeting that, and so that you can and so that you take the things that you hate and you use it as inspiration to become a better version of you. So, if you're going through a negative situation or, something's going wrong, instead of just throwing a fit and just da-da-da-da-da, you can be like, look, I hate this situation. I recognize this situation. It's okay to let it hurt. It's okay to let it be what it be. But then after you make that recognition, you can let it hurt for a couple of days, but then you can use that as a reason to do what you got to do to get out of whatever your situation is. So that's what we got Hate dropping next week. And that's kind of what it's about, is using the situations that are, negative and kind of meant to hold you back, and using that as an inspiration to grow, you know what I'm saying? And reallocate that energy to become a better you. So that is it for tonight. I'm about to go eat myself. I got to go make some food. I'm hungry. And then, like I said, my daughter's been a little too quiet. So whenever I'm with a 4-year-old and she's a little too quiet, you never know where that is. So anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Please, like I said, let me know what you guys want me to discuss, whether more music, more business. Brianna did let me know they want to do some more. She wants me to do some more behind the scenes studio sessions. So I will do that. I'll show you guys some of my creative process and things like that. So I will see you. I will tap in later this week. I don't know what day, but I will tap in later this week. I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of your night, and I will talk to y'all soon. Let's get it.